Emotional trading and trading psychology. Basically, getting out of your own way as a trader and stopping things like self-sabotage, which is holding you back from achieving your trading goals. Now, these are things that I go over repeatedly on this channel. I'm like a broken record, yeah? My subscribers are probably sick of me talking about this, but the reason I go over it so often is because it is one of the most important things that you can learn and that you need to master to become a consistently profitable trader. Now, usually I talk about my own experiences, the things that I have learned over the years, and I try and give you hints and tips based around what I have learned. But today, I am really excited because I have managed to arrange an interview with a leading trading psychologist called Rande Howell. This guy really knows his stuff. I have learned a tremendous amount from him over the years. Now, if you want to learn any more about Rande, maybe you want to see more of what he offers and what he does, you can head over to his website. I will link it in the description section of this video. It is www.tradersstateofmind.com. All that leads me to do is to say, I hope you enjoy the interview as much as I enjoyed doing it. Okay, Rande, so first thing I would like to say is thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me today. I have been following you for quite some time, and I have found your content extremely helpful in helping me to improve as a trader. But for everyone else who has maybe not seen your stuff as yet, can you introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about your background?
Yeah, well, my name is Rande Howell, and I actually started out a long time ago in a place far, far away as a clinical therapist. And I got bored with it, and I ran into a situation where I was really becoming a performance coach. And I ran into a guy who ran a hedge fund, small hedge fund, and he was having performance issues, as you might imagine. Mm-hmm. And out of that, I just got fascinated. What I discovered is what he was so different in that he wanted to work. He just simply wanted to figure out what he needed to do to solve the problem he was having in performance and trading. And I'm going, My goodness gracious, this guy's motivated. He's really working at it. And, lo and behold, he got through those problems, became a much more efficient trader, and it opened up a whole new world to me. And over the last 10 years, I no longer work clinically. People, it's all performance and mostly the financial community. So here we go. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so was he the main reason that you moved over into looking at trading, or had you kind of dabbled in it?
Absolutely. It was, I just wasn't used to seeing a person that motivated.
Yeah.
When you're working with clinical folk, they generally are just trying to say, make the pain go away. But what he was saying is, teach me how to see. Teach me to understand how I can build emotional platform to be able to think in a way that makes me a better trader. And that was just fascinating to me. So I do work with self-development outside of the financial community. Yeah. But my backbone is within the trading community, no doubt about that.
Yeah. This is one of the only things I've ever tried where it's not about how much work you put in. So I can sit down at the charts and I can spend all day, every day practicing, developing new methods, but unless I sort of work on myself, everything just falls apart.
That is so true, is that what most people do, they come into trading or they somehow show up in trading and they think that the winning ways that has gotten them thus where they are in their life are going to work in trading. Yeah. That hard work, never give up, just really, just dedicated type stuff. And it's not that way at all. Yeah. In trading. It's literally, how do I at the very bottom of the deal is how do I create an emotional cocktail that produces a mind suitable to engage uncertainty with.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, your biology and evolution is dead set against you. It's built to loathe randomness and uncertainty. And you see that every day when you try to take trades and you can't trade, or when you go bonkers and end up doing really dumb, stupid things,
Yeah.
or when you finally get to profit and then you jump out and leave all that money on the table.
Yeah.
You're working with your biology. You're working with the autonomic nervous system.
Right.
And you're thinking, I should be able to think my way out of this. And the body is going, no, this is way past thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most traders just simply have no idea how to retrain the emotional brain as it engages uncertainty. And that's the trick. That's what has to happen for a hardworking person to transform himself into an effective trader.
Yeah, exactly. I also find that when people come to trading and they do start to struggle, they sort of turn more toward looking for the magic pill, if you will.
Oh, absolutely.
So I can do videos and speak for 30 minutes on the importance of psychology, and someone will comment in that video, what indicators do you use? Or I'll get an email and it'll say, if I take your course within 2 months, can I be earning £2,000 a month? Do you think that's just a general sort of, maybe a weakness of human beings in general, that we look for the shortcuts and we look for the easy way out?
Sure we do. And besides that, we lie to ourselves.
Yes.
And I don't mean like, geez, I'm creating a lie that I knowingly am doing, but the brain lies to you. I mean, it really wants control over outcome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the whole root thing is that to take yourself out of vulnerability from exposure to chaos or randomness, and you will have yourself believing that, and the brain will have you believing that you can control outcome.
Yeah.
All you need is this magic pill. And James, I have the same thing here. Is I will have people ask me, so if I take your course, is this going to make me a winner in 2 months?
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, no, what I do is I teach you a set of tools that you have to go in and you have to redesign the way the emotional brain responds to uncertainty.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't want to hear that until they've blown up an enormous amount of capital or they produced a lot of suffering. And they finally come to the moment of going, you know something? If I'm going to stick around trading, I'm going to have to rebuild the brain and the mind.
Yeah.
And the way I engage emotionally with uncertainty. But yeah, I can totally sympathize with you. Yeah, I get that. I actually say, just tell me, I've actually had them say, just tell me the secret, and then I'm good.
Yeah, just send me the one sentence that I need to read and that's it.
Yeah.
If only it was that easy.
Download some new stuff and
the thing is, I think most people who come to trading start off in the same way. I mean, I know I did. I thought that it was about finding the secret course or the secret indicator. And what I used to do, talking about lying, is that I would, and this happens to a lot of people, I would go through these emotional phases and I would have multiple losses in a row. It damaged my account. And then what I would do is, instead of really addressing the problem, I would come away from the computer, I'd be angry at myself for a couple of days, I'd beat myself up for a couple of days,
Absolutely.
and then I'd sit back down in front of the computer and I'd say, okay, I promise myself I'm just going to do it differently this time. So do you have any type of advice for that type of trader?
Well, welcome to normal.
Yeah.
First is that's very typical, and people walk in and they think that's going to happen, and it really comes down to coming to a moment of realizing that's not going to work and asking the question, well, what does work?
It takes a long time sometimes to realize that.
I'm going to tell you, I'm sure you've had the same experience. I've seen people struggle for years, and I've seen people blow up enormous amounts of capital.
Yeah.
And finally they, and what's typical with me is people will actually contact me and say, Randy, I wish I had believed you when I had money, but now I've blown it all up.
That's it. It's too late.
I'm a capitalist. This is, but ultimately, it comes down to there's a set of skills, and it's one of the most basic things I do. I ask people the next day when I'm doing like a webinar and I'm just giving you a general idea, what I want them to do is to really tune into their bodies.
Yep.
And to start noticing what their bodies are doing as you're trading.
Okay.
And most are incredibly surprised to find out they have a locked jaw. They've got fists, their chest, and
really
they're
tense,
just stiff. And what that is, if you understand it, is that's actually emotional arousal.
Right.
An emotion is triggered, usually anger or fear of the fight-flight response.
Okay.
And it's building up the body, readying it to fight or flee.
Yeah.
That's what you're experiencing when you see the muscle tension.
Okay.
And then when you see yourself holding your breath, or you start breathing with the very top of your lungs, again, what you're doing, you're seeing part of an emotion, and it's the biological aspect of an emotion, and you're seeing it preparing the body to flee or to fight. You don't need oxygen to the brain to think.
Ah, right. Okay.
Fight. What you need is all that blood, all that oxygen going to your big muscles to either fight or flee. That's the fight-flight response.
So your body is basically preparing to flee, and you're forcing it to stay in front of the danger.
Yeah. You're putting a horse in a burning barn.
No wonder it's so difficult.
And that's the thing is people don't grasp is that this term we use in neuroscience, the autonomic nervous system. Oh, well, that's your nervous system. Oh, it's a lot more than that.
Right. Okay.
Practically everything that you and I do, we're having emotional responses to the environment that happen in nanoseconds, and we would never have conscious awareness of it. It's just happening. We call it subcortical. We don't call it unconscious. We call it subcortical.
Subcortical. Okay.
It's happening before the thinking brain gets a hold of stuff. It's a done deal.
Right. Okay.
And until you learn how to unlock that, to slow it down, you don't have a hope of being able to redesign the belief system that's actually engaging the uncertainty of trading, and that's the ticket. Right. When you look at your trading account, if you were to look at it through new eyes and look at it saying, it's actually telling you how effective your belief system is that's been created by your brain, that you're projecting onto the markets. You're actually seeing if that belief system is effective at extracting capital out of the markets or not.
Yeah, and they can't lie to you,
Yeah, it will not lie to you, as your brain will lie to you, your trading account won't. Yeah. It's your best friend if you learn how to listen to it and to start saying, it's trying to tell me something. And the truth is that no surprise, is you have a brain that has been created for at least 6.5 million years ago that started out on the African savannas where there was a lot of danger around. Yeah. We were little itty-bitty things and really tasty morsels, and we learned and adapted to be basically fear-based. If we could find fear off in the distance, it would increase our odds of surviving. And that's what got wired in. Yeah. There's no way around that except learning how to deal with it, and taking the default programming offline and redesigning again the brain's responses to uncertainty. And that's what trading is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. From my side of things, I am sort of trying to teach the technical aspects of trading.
Yeah.
I always try and put in as much sort of working on yourself as possible. But you've obviously dealt with a lot more one-to-one with traders. So what do you find is the sort of main struggle that people go through, apart from initially losing money, obviously?
It's the lack of control. Is James, a couple years ago, I worked with a guy who was a very successful serial entrepreneur. Those are unusual people. Usually you get lucky, make a lot of money, and you think, oh, I'm the guy who did all the money, and you go try it again. Well, this guy, over a period of years, when he graduated from college, he sold a bar business that he'd created in college for $500,000.
Wow.
And he was running that before he couldn't drink.
Yeah, most people are in the bar drinking, not running it at that
Right.
point.
Well, he's selling people the drinks.
Wow.
And, over time, he created an enormous organization to be able to do stuff. And he finally came to the moment of where he sold a business, had a large passable cash,
Mhm.
and he said, well, you know something? Trading is really a capital-intensive industry. All that I need to do is go in and learn the business of it,
Mhm.
and I've already got the capital, so I'm good to go. You
Yeah.
know, again, alpha type thinking.
Yeah.
And he's a winner, and he's a proven winner, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, he gets into trading, and 3 to 4 years later, he's still their scratch trader, and he ends up with me. And he finally came to the moment of where he became a consistently profitable trader.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he said, Randy, I want to thank you for the work you've done with me. I know now what it takes to become a successful trader, and I'm going to leave trading because
Okay.
I don't want to become, I don't want, I want control.
Ah, right. Okay. So he couldn't give up the control.
Right. He could not give up the control. And the thing is, in the world that he lived in,
Mhm.
that alpha mindset
Yeah.
had worked and is working quite well now. But when he tried to apply it to this business, he thought of trading,
Yeah.
that's the one thing you have to give up is
Wow.
control.
I'd never thought about it like that. Yeah, that's very true. And that's the main type of person that comes into trading, I would say, is the sort of alpha mindset. I'm going to do this. I'm going to conquer the markets. I'm going to take money from the markets.
Either the alpha or the perfectionist
Yeah.
is
The
that a
perfectionist.
lot
Yeah.
of people, and this will be, I'm sure a lot of what you will see,
Yeah.
is you'll get people coming in saying, okay, if I take James's work and I tutor under him and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I'm going to learn not to make mistakes. And by not
Exactly.
making mistakes, I'm going to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they get into it and realize, oh, this is a probability game.
Hmm.
You can do everything right and still be wrong a
Exactly.
good bit of the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And so it's really that alpha and the perfectionist. Those are the two kinds of folks that I see. And then you see a lot of the people who can get it together for a while,
And then it falls
then they
apart.
blow up.
Yeah.
And I call those, that's the saboteur.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece. And, it's actually learning how to build a reliable mindset that you can literally call forward,
Yeah.
that is effective in working probability rather than trying to win.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, in my training, you're going to come to a moment if you win, it's recognizing that all you really did is land on the right side of probability.
Yeah. And you
No
followed your
reason
plan.
to get
Yeah.
excited. No reason to get excited.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you get excited, you've hit euphoria, and euphoria is going to create a mind that thinks it can win. It could go on and on and on. So
Yeah.
that's the problem with the alpha.
It's almost like cycles, isn't it? So when people, I find when people start to have runs of wins, they start to think they're trading gods. And then that leads into that sort of sabotage that you're talking about. And the
It's so
perfectionist,
natural.
yeah, and the perfectionist will sit and focus on the chart for hours and hours, and then they'll maybe miss a trade, and that will lead them into sabotaging everything. It's a crazy industry when you actually sit down and think about it.
Well, there's a saying I have is the brain and mind that you brought to trading,
Hmm.
no matter how successful it's been in the past,
Yeah.
is not going to provide you with success in trading.
Hmm.
And all these responses, understand, these are automatic limbic responses to uncertainty that the limbic system has learned and put into place, and it's not at working conscious level. You have to look at an indicator like your trading account
Hmm.
that tells you whether or not it's effective or not, because to your biology, like confidence
Yeah.
is confidence makes you feel good, which, by the way, is a component of an emotion. Is the feeling state of an emotion is really the chemistry of the emotion in your body, in your synapses,
Yeah.
altering the way you perceive. And so when you feel good, you think, oh man, I've got it. What you're doing is you're producing a particular emotional mind,
Mhm.
and it just so happens that it's rotten for trading.
And it's maybe changing the way you're looking at the markets.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what you'll do, I mean, how many times you've seen guys, particularly the alphas, where they'll say, I just wanted to jump in. I wanted to chase this trade. And what they do is when they get blown up, they say,
I had a
this wasn't
feeling.
even
Yeah.
a setup.
I had
This
a
was,
feeling though. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
what you're doing is you're looking at that process and you're realizing, oh my God, this is outside of my working awareness.
Hmm.
And it's operating. And unless I can dig down and get at the literally the operating system, that's basically for creating this reality, then I'm going to continue to create that reality.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really cool stuff. And I actually have found what most people say, Randy, I really want to appreciate. I truly, I've learned the emotional or mental side of trading, and I've got that mental emotional discipline now. But what I want to thank you is the impact it's had on the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's most people believe, like this entrepreneur I was telling you about, that he could control. Well, the truth is that he may have a short-term control that really works out,
Yeah.
but at the same time, 3 years later, he has cancer.
Yeah.
And you start really realizing, oh my God, I thought I was going to control. And it's over here, it really truly appeared I had control. But overall, the truth is I didn't really have control at all.
Yeah. The
And
illusion of control. Yeah.
yeah, the illusion of control. So what I'm teaching and what has to get is that you never have been in control of outcome. You can learn, though, to be in control of the mind that you bring to performance.
Right. Okay.
That's the ticket, is that it's a different mind than everybody's taught in self-development about the winning attitude and, the affirmations and the visualizations and the can-do attitude.
Hmm.
That's all trying to control outcome.
Right. Okay. Okay.
This is about controlling the mind that produces performance.
So it's a different approach completely, you
Complete,
would say. Oh,
completely.
right. Okay.
But at the height of when you take a look at really elite performers,
Hmm.
like if you take a look at golf on the PGA Tour,
Hmm.
every guy on that tour can putt and can knock the slop out of the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, yet there's only about 10 big time money players at any time.
Yeah.
What you discover with them, first of all, they have their sports psychologists with them while they're performing, while they're out doing these tournaments, because they realize I need somebody observing me to make sure my head stays clear.
Right.
What you will also see is that they recognize that they don't control the outcome. They don't control whether or not some guy is having the best game of his life. They don't control the weather. They don't control the wind. They don't control the fans.
Yeah.
What they control is the mind that lines up the putt. That's what they control.
Right. Okay.
They don't control whether or not it goes in the hole. They control the mind that's going to produce the performance.
Right.
And
Okay.
that's the secret. And I wish traders would get it.
Yeah. So do I. Trust me. So do I. If I could take my course and spend 80% of the time working on the people who take the course and 20% of the time working on the course, I would do that. But everyone who just wants the technical aspects, and then after a while, usually they come back and they say, I need some help here. I'm doing stupid things when I sit down at the computer. And that's when I put them towards people like yourself, videos like you produce. Now, I don't want to talk about a magic pill, but if you could give sort of one piece of advice to someone who is learning to trade that you think will benefit them and help them develop that trader mindset, what would you say?
The first step is always emotional regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And within that is a new understanding of how the brain and the mind actually work. I don't make a distinction between biology, your flesh,
Yeah.
your brain, emotion, or mind. I don't make a distinction. I think it's dangerous
Okay.
to do that, and recognizing that emotions are actually, in neurobiology speak, they're biological action potentials that coordinate activity between the organism, that's you, the trader, and the environment, that's the markets.
Right.
That's what emotions are. They are not psychological. They are biological, and they are coordinating without the thinking brain ever showing up. It's coordinating the activity. And that's what you're seeing. And the very first thing is that I actually have worked with a number of traders where they knew how to trade. They did not know how to regulate how they responded to uncertainty. And as soon as they learned how to regulate that, and that, if you've ever done any yoga, or if you've done pranayama, or if you've done relaxation response, or however you want to configure diaphragmatic breathing, is the first part of any of my courses literally is learning how to alter the way the body behaves under uncertainty. And you do that by recognizing that your fight-flight emotions, fear, anger, they have a biological signature. And fear and anger, you often are holding your breath, or you're you're also got this tension, and what you're realizing is you are cranking yourself up. If you cannot uncrank yourself, then no amount of the kind of slick mind type stuff that I teach is ever going to be effective.
Right. Okay.
You can interrupt the response that your autonomic nervous system has to uncertainty. And you realize that in diaphragmatic breathing, all you're doing is you're creating an environment in the body that maintains calmness. That's what diaphragmatic breathing does when you're breathing from your belly.
Right.
And then to your chest, what you're doing is you're literally saying, I'm taking the edge off, and I'm lowering it so that my thinking mind stays online, rather than just getting hijacked and blown out of the water by the arousal of the central nervous system. The second thing, this actually comes from an interview I heard with George Soros, and this isn't about whether or not you like Soros or not. It's recognizing that in our time, he's one of the best traders and position holders and investors the world's ever known.
He knows what he's doing, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. And for that reason, you need to study his methods.
Yeah.
And what you discover is, and this thing is, he had just made $2 billion off the housing debacle from years past.
Yeah.
And he'd written a book about it and was being interviewed in his heavily accented English. And finally, the interviewer asked the question everybody wanted to hear. How did you do it? And what Soros said, he says, it's a matter of how you look at the markets.
Yeah.
He says, I recognize that the markets are just like nature if you know how to look at nature. He says, you look out at nature and you think, oh, it's bucolic, it's beautiful, what calming. He says, no, it's not. There's competition going on out there all the time. It's literally, I have right now, I live in a forest, and I look out, and I have invasive species coming in. I have other species of plants from a plantation that used to be here. Yeah. And you can literally see in a summer, you can see the fight between the two species.
Yeah.
My cat commonly brings down, and I'm looking out this giant window, and there's my front yard right there, and my cat often brings mice down there to dispatch them. And I asked that mouse, is it really bucolic right now for you?
Yeah.
No, he's been eaten alive. He's been scared into a heart attack.
Yeah.
And what George did is he gave the example of the Alaskan vole. It's a rodent in Alaska that has these buster booms, cycles, where literally the boom will happen out of nowhere. It's like, how did this happen? And the population immensely grows. It's in a bubble. Okay?
Yeah.
And all the prey species around it, this is hog heaven. And then suddenly, though, within 3 days, after a couple of years of this, the entire population collapses and there's starvation everywhere.
Yeah.
He actually gave this example. He said, the same thing that happens in nature like that is happening in the markets if you have the eyes to see it.
Right.
He said, what I've developed is the ability to observe the market for bubbles.
Yeah.
The problem is I'm also a participant in the market, so I'm not a pure observer.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to observe for these bubbles as they begin and to bet against them or for them, depending on what he's doing. He said, in this particular case, the bubble became unstable, and I was no longer sure how long the bubble could maintain itself. So I took my profits.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I left $1 billion on that table.
Wow.
Interestingly, he said, though, that's just simply $1 billion that was on the table, and I'm okay with what I took. He said, I will just simply go find another $1 billion bubble, and I will repeat the process.
Yeah.
What I want you to recognize is he has an acute development of the observing self, where in his his body talks to him, and he goes into backaches when he needs to be getting out of positions, and I mean there's an attunement there that maybe you and I are not going to ever get to, but I don't think we need to.
No.
You're seeing is he has become an astute observer of his mind.
Right. Okay.
Rather than getting sucked into things all the time. He's a participant. He knows he's going to get sucked in to some degree, but he has a balance between him as a participant in the markets and him as an observer of the markets. And it is developing that observing part of the self
mm-hmm.
that is so critical, because even when you're observing yourself, you're not taking all this stuff personally anymore. When mistakes are made and flaws are revealed, what you're looking at is going, oh, that's simply an area that I need to redevelop within myself. It's not a flaw that I need to hide.
Yeah.
Because the trading gods are going to expose the flaw over and over again until I do something about it.
Yeah.
And you begin to realize what a tool for self-development. So my work is based on, first, getting emotions regulated so they're not overwhelming you, and recognizing you can't fight emotions. I mean, if you get in the way of an emotion, it just simply wipes out and hijacks thinking.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you talk to a guy who has a hard time, he wants more and more confirmation, then the trade gets away from him.
Yeah.
It's making logical sense while he's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's after the fact, when he has a clearer mind, and go, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Why did I do that? Yeah.
Yeah, you're looking at thinking serving emotion.
And do you think emotion is always going to be a part of your trading? You just have to learn how to sort of regulate it and work with it?
Well, unless you're dead.
Fantastic.
No, all thinking is emotional state dependent.
Yeah.
So your job, there's a saying I use, is there is no freedom from emotion.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody wants to teach you, that teach platform and teach methodology.
Yeah.
They want to teach you, you just leave your emotions at the door. Well, you can't.
I'm so happy you said that. That's what I've been saying for years.
Yeah.
Wow.
You are an emotional being who has the capacity of reasoning.
Yeah.
You are not a rational being who has an emotion.
Exactly.
And once you realize, this is a game about managing the emotions that show up in response to situation.
Yeah.
Like if you take a look at the way the United States trains its soldiers, they put them in simulated conditions that are incredibly chaotic.
Yeah.
They want that chaos, and they want to teach them to think clearly in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
They're training them for the world, for the emotional world, literally the smell of death.
Yeah.
And so you don't go crazy. Like if you put me in the middle of some of this shock and awe stuff that the United States does, I'm gone.
I'm the same, yeah.
I'm dead. But these people are well trained for that. Now integrating them back into their families, that's another issue. That's not their job. But the thing is, you realize that there is freedom of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be a successful trader, you're either going to learn it on your own And good luck with that. I mean, we talk about these guys who take $10,000 and they become zillionaires and stuff like that. And first of all, they're few and far between.
Yeah.
And then if you take a look at them and you start looking at their history, you have seen them go through that cycle before and over, because you keep the risk up, and sooner or later the black swan's going to show up.
Yeah, every time. Yeah,
every time when you start, most sane traders, they're going to be risk like maybe 1.5% of their account in anything. They're not doing that 4 or 5%. When you up that kind of stuff, you are waiting for the black swan.
Yeah.
You keep doing this, the black swan is going to show up within the probability frame.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's building that mind that emotionally keeps you attuned to what good risk management is and what your brain can tolerate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And you can build the brain, the emotion, and the mind that can engage the probability very successfully over time. And I see it happen. I see it all the time. It's like it's just like I can't believe that people will invest this kind of money, this kind of time, and not recognize that they have to redesign the way their brain engages uncertainty. It just blows me away that they think they're just going to bull through here and find the magic bullet or the holy grail and everything's going to be fine. No, it's not that way. Trading is going to teach you that we have no choice but to engage uncertainty with the proper mindset, and that is the edge.
Yep.
Once you have methodology, once you have platform, the edge is the driver of that methodology and of that platform, and you better have it right, or the trading account will tell you you see it all the time.
I see it all the time. Absolutely fantastic, Randy. So happy you took the time to come on and do the interview. One thing I would like to say is, if anyone wants to find out more about yourself and what you do, what is the best way for them to do that?
Go to my website. I'm also got a 200 videos on my YouTube channel.
Yep.
But if you go to my website, and that's www.mytraderstateofmind, and the first thing is you get the free gift. It's a collection of articles that I've written over 10 years that really zero in, and it's a good way of learning about me and what emotional intelligence is applied to trading.
Yep.
And it doesn't solve the problems of the world, but it begins to let you know, you don't have to be in the dark about this.
Yep.
Your brain's going berserk. Well, there's a good reason. You're forcing it to go berserk. You're pushing it into something that it is diametrically opposed to do.
Yep.
And from there, the videos, the articles, I mean, you can spend hours on just with free learning on my website.
Yep.
And then when it comes down to it, in my book, Mindful Trading, I actually explain the process I use to create the trading mind. Mm-hmm. And once you do that, there's programs and that kind of stuff that that require more investment than curiosity.
Yeah,
and,
of course, yeah.
But at the same time, what I'm looking to do initially is open your eyes to the role of emotion in the way you approach uncertainty and thinking, and that emotion is unavoidable.
Yeah.
Emotion is not what you think it is at all.
I've learned so much just from this interview, yeah.
Your body is emotion. The Latin is e, out of, motion. Basically what they're saying is an emotion takes the body into action.
Right, okay.
And that's what an emotion is. And the only time you don't have emotions are when you're dead.
Yeah.
And the key is to become designer of what emotions show up to engage the uncertainties of life. And in trading, you really have no choice about managing the mindset you bring to engage risk, engage uncertainty.
Yeah.
It's going to be all over the place. In your outside world, you can really do a good job of pretending. And like my friend, the very successful serial entrepreneur,
Yeah.
it's very clear that he had control. But when it came down to the cancer, he wasn't in control.
Yeah.
And when it came to trading, what he discovered is, oh my God, I get it, is that I am really an ambush predator.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a stalking predator.
Ah, right. Okay. It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to use the way the American cougar hunts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lion. It's the top dog in the forest.
Yeah.
And it climbs a tree, hangs out on a limb, waiting for the deer to show up
Mm-hmm.
in the setup. It waits there. And if you were to look at a hunting cougar, what you'd see is a big cat sleeping in a tree. It doesn't look like work.
Yeah.
Okay? But yet at the same time, he's practicing patience.
Mm-hmm.
And when the cat springs on the deer, it snaps the neck of the deer with its paw. It doesn't strangle. It doesn't do anything. It just snaps it, and the deer really drops, and that's it.
Wow.
If there's a mishap and the deer gets up and runs, the cougar doesn't go after it. It minimizes the loss, climbs back up the tree, waits for the next setup.
Yeah.
Whereas the African lion, also top tier predator in a different place,
Mm-hmm.
is adapted to hunt on Great Plains and to use stalking and to use teams to hunt down things. And what they do is they have a lot of injuries. They get gored, they get kicked, and what you discover is they have to keep breeding to be able to keep the supply of hunters up because of the heavy losses they sustain. And if you took that same African lion and put him into the American forest,
Yeah.
he'd starve.
Yeah.
So the deal is that it's the environment that you're operating in,
Mm-hmm.
and you're adapting to whatever conditions are necessary for success in that environment. And trading requires a different mindset than success like in entrepreneurial activities and stuff like that. It just requires a patience and a sense of being able to wait.
Yeah.
And when people say, well, Randy, I just get bored. And I say, well, what do you think patience is? Do you want to be a trader? The moment that you start trying to make things happen, you become a gambler.
Yeah. It's a very thin line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that magic moment. So you learn how to deal with your, you just have to learn how to deal with your boredom.
Yep.
And recognize, no, if you're going to be a successful trader, your whole notion of boredom needs to be shifted into patience.
Yep.
That you'll wait for the setup to come to you.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Perfect. Once again, thank you so much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put links to your website in the description section of the video down below. I highly recommend you go over and have a look. It's pretty much what I preach in all of my videos. You need to work on yourself if you want to become or have any chance of becoming a successful trader. So, as always, guys, I hope that was helpful. I'm James Orr, and thank you.